These little strips are test strips that I did for different saturations of the different dyes. Where they're cooked, I've put them in different dye solutions, but all natural dyes. And then I've got these higgledy-piggledy little bits of distressed fibers. My name is Kathleen O'Grady, and my business name is Kathleen O'Grady Design, and I'm the owner and creative director of the business. I've always loved textiles and fabrics, and my mother had a big part of me choosing to go into clothing design, and it's just something that's followed me all my life, is the love of textiles and fabrics and the history of them, and the cultures that make the textiles. I've done a fair bit of travel. I lived in Greece for a year in Athens back in the mid-'80s, and then I lived in Japan for 2 years and was really influenced by Japanese culture, which is probably where my less is more philosophy comes from. My philosophy of that is that when the textiles and the fabrics are beautiful and handmade, then when I have a design, I want a really simple design because I want to feature the beauty of the fabric, the weave of the fabric. A typical day for me, depending on what I'm doing, if I'm dyeing using natural dyes, I'm at my house because I need to be out in the garage or on the back patio in the summertime. It would be dyeing the fabrics, the scarves in the vat, which is a very lengthy, long process. I like working with natural textiles, which would be cotton, silk, linen, hemp, and my preference is woven textiles as opposed to knit, partly because world traditions are weaving and making woven textiles, so that's part of my love. I like texture a lot. And if I've got texture on a garment, that means that the garment can be dead simple. The image on the front is appliqued. It's linen and silk, and it was done with a natural dye. And then the little dots have been appliqued on in Japanese sashiko stitch. They were done in a workshop by a Malian artist, Abubakar Fofana, which I love his name. I had a line of clothing that was Grady blue, and because of my love of slow textiles and fabrics, and indigo in particular, that's what informed the name Grady Blue, although I'm rebranding to Kathleen O'Grady Design. I decide if a creative idea is a good or bad idea is whether it sells or not. And if it sells, it's a good idea. And there's always this confluence of creativity and business. So if you asked me if my business is sustainable or that's what I'm aiming for, I do use natural dyes, and I don't promote my business as being sustainable just because that's so very subjective. My philosophy and value is that I'll never sell something to someone if it either doesn't look good on them or they're hesitating as to whether they might want to buy. I would sooner have somebody walk away from a sale and know that they can trust me because I didn't push a sale on them. These little shapes, again, the Japanese sashiko. I like the distressed look of the fiber. And then the little prints, those were done with a potato. You don't see any of this color until it's cooked, and you watch the color come out in the fiber right before your eyes. So that's the magic of it, really. Dyeing with natural dyes is a very lengthy, old-world process. There's a lot of preparation to preparing the fabrics in order to be dyed. Firstly, I need to scour the fabric. That means I need to wash it, and then I have to prepare the fabric with what is called a mordant. And once that is finished, then I can do the dye process. And then depending on the dye that I'm using, that informs how much and what percentage of dye I'm going to use on a particular fabric to get a desired color. In terms of selling my designs, I haven't been approached by a big company to do that, although somebody has certainly said you could be in Barney's, New York easily, and that was a very nice compliment. The heart of what I do and my DNA, as it were, is in the visceral processes of designing on-the-ground artisan approach to fabrics and textiles. I mean, all my designs are really simple and easily copied. And, you know, that's out there. But it's my selection of fabrics and textiles, and then when we get into the natural dyes and the printing and the stamping and the painting, that's what sets things apart, is the added processes that I do to make the fabrics different.
If you have program ideas that you'd like to see on maxTV Local On Demand, write us at max.local@sasktel.com.